What's up, pretty gang? It's your favorite nail tech Peaches, back with another video. Today I'm going to teach you how to make your stiletto nails look really sleek and talk to you about why they so doggone bulky in the first place. So before we get into it, y'all already know I do have a channel membership. You guys can join to become extra pretty. Here goes some of the perks, and honestly the Instagram group chat is probably the perkiest of the perk, because who you know that could actually text the YouTuber that they're trying to watch, okay? And it's the actual YouTuber, like, come on. So let's jump right into it. Now, first thing is first, you need to realize that the bulkiness that you're getting from the stiletto nails is honestly starts at the base, which is the nail tips. I personally like to create my shapes from scratch using a square tip. You don't have to do this, but just be aware that when you are using pre-shaped tips, that sometimes because they are pre-shaped, it takes away your want to actually further shape them, and that can lead you to not getting the sleekest look that you can when it comes to a stiletto. Okay, now what we don't want is for the stiletto to be super pointy at the tips but not following a very narrow line. Okay, we really want like two 45-degree angles coming to this point. Your file definitely needs to get into those crevices. Okay, do you see how my thumb is pulling back the skin and I'm getting way up into the areas where the nail tip actually meets the natural nail? If you are not filing way up into there, that's already the number one mistake that you're making to set yourself up for failure for having sleek nails. Okay, now when you do stilettos, you need to really make sure that you are gripping your client and having a nice solid hold on that nail tip, so that way when you go and file, it reduces the risk of it being uncomfortable, because honestly the file is going to go all over the place. I mean, the nail tip going to go all over the place just wiggling. Now if you are using pre-shaped stiletto tips or whatever, you know, just make sure that you are going in to further shape them, because what happens is, especially for people that have wide nails or, you know, just bigger nail beds in general, a lot of times you will see that they typically will not have the sleekest look, because people don't realize you need to shape all the way up into the nail side walls, okay, of the real nails. You see that? You see how my file is going all the way up there? That's what you need to do. Okay, now once you have your base down to where you feel like, okay, this is a sleekness I'm okay with, then you will move on. Just keep in mind that even if the point is not perfectly straight, perfectly pointed, it's okay, because we still have application and previous shaping to do, but you do want to get it to the exact narrowness that you want, because when you apply, the acrylic is going to get even thicker. Okay, so application. Now, just so y'all know, this color is custom made by me. It is a color I keep on hand, but I did make it, so I don't have a color name for y'all. Okay, so with application, let's talk about what kind of goes to the left that does not allow us to get our sleekest look. Now, first thing is first, I do want to point out that this particular day they had the air conditioning blowing in my suite. I had on my little heater to the side, but even that was not providing enough like extra warmth for this stuff to polymerize correctly. So just keep in mind, this is not an application tutorial, okay? We is talking about just the stilettos in general. Now, typically what I notice is that people will either apply the acrylic a little bit too wet, and then the acrylic kind of spills over into certain areas it don't need to be in, or the acrylic will be a little bit too dry and it will pretty much be like a lump of something. Okay, so as you guys can see, you want to apply your acrylic as nicely as you can, and you really want to do a good job using your brush to keep the shape together and to keep the acrylic from overflowing. Now granted, if someone has wide nail beds, there's no way you can control the nail looking wide, because if a bitch got big nails, the bitch just got big nails. I got big nails and I've had to come to grips with it, so it's okay. But what we don't want is for the nails to look even bigger and disrespectfully wide, because that's not fair either. Okay, so here you go, watch me again kind of go ahead and navigate this nail. Now I do want to point out once again, if the application is not perfectly sharp, that's fine, because we still have some more filing to do. But what we want to focus on is making sure everything is as narrow as we can get it and as sleek as we can get it. You got to keep this in mind each step. Stilettos do take a little bit extra time than other shapes, and that's just because it takes a good minute to get something like this to be this pointed, this narrow, this shaped. Like, come on, it's just a little bit more time consuming. Okay, now what you want to really make sure is, you see how I'm doing is using my brush to manipulate the acrylic before it fully dries, because if you don't do this, once again, let's reiterate, you're gonna have a bulkiness. Okay, and this area is the number one area. You see where my brush is, all up and through there is where a lot of the bulkiness comes through. So if you are a person that notices you have like a widened area right after the natural nail and the nail tip meets and then it goes really skinny, this video is definitely for you. Okay, now if your problem is you have a very nice shape after the nail tip and the nail natural nail meat, but you have a lot of bulkiness up on the cuticle area, then what that means is you're using too much acrylic. Now we need to keep in mind that although we do need to have a nice apex, stilettos are very, very thin, which means they are the weakest shape, which means they have less surface area, which means they don't need a large apex, especially if they're not very long, and especially if someone has smaller nail beds. Now, even if someone does have larger nail beds, they still will need less acrylic than what you're normally used to, because if you have an unbalanced nail, it's really going to show with stilettos. So I'm gonna be honest, this nail was a little unbalanced. A lot of times you're gonna have to do a lot of extra work after the application to make everything come together. I also use curved nail tips, so keep in mind there is a very specific structure that I have to maintain and keep in order for things to look right. Now, if you're using straight tips, you might not have to worry about that little extra portion, but just know you still need an apex and know that it still doesn't need to be that large. So that was pretty much application. This is what it looks like before shaping. Now I'm going to help you out here and let you know your e-file is going to be your BFF when it comes to this apex area. Okay, this where I'm filing is normally the area that is the bulkiest and the thickest, and when you notice people's stilettos like, ooh, that don't look a little bit right, or oh, what looks off, it's usually this area. So definitely use your e-file to debulk first before you go in and file with your hand file. I'm not gonna lie, this next part of the video is very short because I was also having issues with storage. So not only was it too cold in the room, I didn't have enough storage either. Okay, so the method that I'm telling you about is to debulk first before you go ahead and file. I do want to point out I am doing a workshop at Nail Pro, or a demo, right? Nail Pro Sacramento, where I'm actually going to be talking about these techniques and how they can save you time. So if you're interested, I'll go ahead and link that probably in the description or in the comments below if that's something that you're interested in learning about this technique. But to keep it pushing, we need to go ahead and use our e-file before we use our hand file, just so that way it takes out a lot of the work. Okay, so if you feel like it looks a little extra bulky, it's probably because it does. So you want to make sure every single nail looks appropriate, and you want to compare everything apex to apex. Y'all, my computer is literally going to die any second. I know we can get through these 20 seconds. So then you want to go ahead and use your hand file to crisp everything up. I know this video seems a little rushed at the end because I'm running out of footage and because it is a little rushed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something. Of course, thanks for watching. Here's the final result. Subscribe, notifications on, and I will see you guys in the next video.